You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report. We are much obliged. Today is December 12th, 2024. It's a Thursday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt. I am at Stage 22 in Elwood, Indiana. Producer Susie is in the control room at headquarters in Jeffersonville. And Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader helped me with most of the interviews on Wednesday evening. My voice wasn't working very well, so Michelle took control of most of the interviews. She's the best. What we're going to do on Thursdays going forward is talk with coaches who have double weekends and the ones who have big games. And then we will, on Friday, preview every single game and talk to more coaches. Every single day of the week, we preview the games that are coming up that day. Coming up on this segment of the Central Indiana Sports Report, we have Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger, Madison-Grant head coach Josh Hendrickson, Elwood head coach Ryan Van Skyok, Tipton's Cliff Hawkins, Western's Cam Bennington making his Central Indiana Sports Report debut, as well as Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry and Tri-Central head coach Cam Heineman. Before we get to our weekend previews, there was one game Thursday. Anderson Prep took its first loss of the year after a 4-0 start. It's still easily the best start in program history. The Jets have already equaled last year's win total after 4 games. After their first 4 games, they were 4-0 after winning just 4 games last year. And their single season program record for wins is 6. Reigning Central Indiana Sports Report Player of the Week, Lincoln Fathauer, scored 20 points to lead APA. Senior Marcus McLean added 17. Senior Cameron Anderson had 5 points and 4 of the Jets' 9 assists. APA has another one Saturday evening when it hosts 0-4 Seton Catholic. It's the first home game for the Jets in December. And to our weekend preview, we start with Mississinewa. The defending CIC co-champion Indians head into Friday's showdown with conference and county rival Oak Hill in its only game of the weekend. The Golden Eagles are 2-2. It's the CIC debut for both teams. On Wednesday, Michelle Garmon and I spoke with Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks about his team and Friday's showdown with Mississinewa.
I mean, we're fortunate that it's a home game. Obviously, our first conference game, county rival. We have the jug, the county jug right now. I believe we took it from Oak Hill last year and were able to hold on to it throughout the season. So I'm sure they'll be coming in and gunning for that as well. So, I mean, if there wasn't already enough on the line, there's always that added bit there too. So, yeah, definitely a big game.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about the conference and being a co-defending champion along with Frankton, and then looking at you and Frankton, and then kind of Oak Hill as, in my opinion, the 3 teams to really look for. Or, I would, if you were doing like the media were doing a preseason favorite, so I would put you 3 as a favorite to battle for the conference championship. So having to face Oak Hill early in the season it is pretty challenging at this point, especially with you, because I know you're trying to get some new pieces to blend in with what you had returning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're definitely a inexperienced team. It's hard to say we're young because we do have a decent group of seniors and a few juniors in there, but obviously only playing one player with varsity experience. We're a pretty inexperienced team. I don't mind kind of our setup, the way we start the season. I know we got some tough ones early, but I think it's a good test for us to be able to, play some tough opponents, kind of find out who we are, what we need to work on, and then, be ready to go into this conference season. And, to have the week and a half we've had, to prep for essentially one game is kind of nice. So maybe not the best of situations, but I don't know if I'd have it any other way.
What does Mississinewa need to do? Your team need to do to maybe pull off a little early CIC surprise and beat Oak Hill?
I think obviously the obvious answer would be is we got to slow down Jace Tonigal. Have been blessed, fortunate, whatever, to kind of follow him on his way up. As he's gotten older, and he's definitely the real deal. I believe I saw last he's averaging 24 a game with 4 or 5 assists. So, he's what makes them go. He's what makes them good. So I think we got to be able to keep him in check. But then watching that Norwell film, they got other guys that are more than capable of making and knocking down shots. So, we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's and make sure that we're, closing out to take those shots away and hopefully limit Jace, at the same time. So it's going to be a tall task, but I think our guys are, ready and pretty pumped to, get after it and kind of see where we fall. So I think those are probably the biggest two things for us. Then offensively, we got to take care of the basketball. That's been the bugaboo for us all season long so far. And, if we can take care of the basketball and get more shots, I think that definitely will bode well for us, Friday.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna ask you about the turnovers and everything, because when you have a guard like Jace Tonigal, a lot of times you turn that over, it becomes points, definitely becomes points at the other end of the floor.
Yeah, definitely. So, that's what we've talked a lot about, these first 3 games, and even, this week. We've talked about, trying to limit turnovers. And if we're going to turn it over, we've talked about how, a dead ball turnover is a whole lot better for us than a live ball turnover that, turns into transition points on the other end. We'd rather hold on to the ball too long and get a 5-second call or, something like that where we get a chance to get back and get our defense set. Because I do feel like, this team's pretty good defensively in the half court. But if we're throwing it away with them to have an opportunity to go in transition and make plays, we definitely have struggled in that area.
And of course, making shots is a big thing. How is your perimeter game to complement the? Because I believe you returned a forward, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So how
Yep.
has that perimeter game been as to complement his game?
We're still working on it. We're a work in progress. We got a couple kids that I anticipated them shooting the ball better, kind of start the season in a slump. And I don't know if that's just the natural hangover from football to basketball, that transition. But we have not shot the ball from the 3 at a percentage that I would like to. Now, I do feel like, our freshman Ravion Fetts is starting to come on and play well for us. Seth Yoder, another kid, has, started to make some shots. So hopefully he's able to continue that. And then I see, Grady Schnepp hopefully stepping in and making more shots for us. But, that's definitely been an area that, we've focused on, and we're getting in the gym early in the mornings now before school starts around 5:30. Trying to make shots before school, and it's definitely a focus of ours. But, it's not where it needs to be, not where we want it to be. But, this group of kids is a tireless group of workers. So I don't think I'd rather go to battle with anybody else. So I see hopefully that improving, over the season, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
After facing Mississinewa on Friday, Oak Hill hosts 1-0 Mechaniqua on Saturday. The Braves beat North Miami 76-51 in their opener. Of course, all of the focus has been on Mississinewa, according to Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger.
Well, Coach, as far as the regular season goes, they don't get much bigger than Friday night.
No, they don't. These are games that you kind of circle on the calendar for a number of different reasons. It's our conference opener, but I think probably more importantly, in the mindset of a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, you're talking about a cross-county rival.
Right.
Been very competitive. This is a team that we see at least twice a year and sometimes 3 times a year. And so, yeah, it's just one of those circle the date kind of games.
I'm sorry, I was just looking. I forget who you have on Saturday.
Saturday we play McConaughey.
Okay.
And so that
Let
obviously
me
will
ask
be
you.
a different time.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
ask you the question this way. All right, Coach, back to back the night after a rivalry game, you go to McConaughey. Do those kind of games concern you?
Yeah. We've never, well, I shouldn't say never, but it's very rare that we play well at McConaughey. And I think a lot of it is because we put so much into just a mental, emotional approach for the game on Friday night. It takes us a while to kind of get going, and sometimes we find ourselves behind the 8 ball. We certainly did not play well last year. They were probably going to beat us, but I think the margin of victory had something to do with, what we put into Friday night. So yeah, it's always a concern, but it's a good test because the sectional play is a highly contested Friday night game, and yeah, if you're going to win it, you got to come back and get up on a Saturday as well.
That's right. We know a lot about Mississinewa on the Central Indiana Sports Report, but don't know much about McConaughey. What can you tell us?
To be honest with you, the coach is still thinking and preparing about Mississinewa. McConaughey has played just one game, and obviously they feature Josiah Ball, who was top 3, maybe even led the state in scoring last year, is an NAIA level basketball player. And so it kind of begins and ends there. They're coached by John Burris, and so when you play a John Burris team, you're going to see a very extended pressured 2-3 zone, a 2-2-1 3/4 court press, and they're going to get the ball up and down the floor. They're always going to be one of the state's highest leading, offensive points per game. And so, again, you're going to put a lot into it Friday night physically, and then on the Saturday night back end of a double header, you're going to be in a track meet. And so, they have some seasoned players back from a team that was very successful last year with a lot of high hopes and aspirations. And so we anticipate that this will be one of the stronger teams on our entire schedule.
2-0 Madison-Grant has a double weekend with a pair of home games against 1-3 Elwood and 1-4 Cass, giving the Argyles a great shot at getting to 4-0 for the first time since 2020-21. But like all the teams in the CIC with double weekends, Madison-Grant head coach Josh Hendrickson and the Argyles are focused on Friday's CIC contest. All right, Coach, sitting at 2-0, playing Elwood at home this Friday. How have you felt about your team so far through a couple of games?
Well, I think we're defending very well right now. I think the kids really bought into how we want to defend. They bought into the physicality on the defensive end. Offensively, I think we need to get a little more efficient. We need to clean some things up. There's a lot of empty possessions. The first 2 games, not necessarily turning over the basketball. We're only averaging 11 turnovers a game right now, but just some shot selections, some opportunities that we didn't take advantage of, and maybe some decision making that we need to get better at. But defensively, I think we've been incredible for this portion of the season. If we can get the offense to catch up, I think some things will really be going well.
And the CIC schedule starts on Friday against Elwood. What kind of challenges does Elwood pose?
Well, Elwood, they're always going to be a team that comes out there, plays hard, physical. They're going to compete. Ever since Coach Van Skyhawk's been there, it's a team that's going to get up in you. They're going to guard you. They're going to guard you hard. They're going to try to rebound the basketball. They're a team that does pride themselves on not getting outworked. I think people sometimes look at their record, but if you watch them play, they are very capable, and they put themselves in positions to be capable just by how hard they play.
And starting off the CIC with a win, that's a big deal.
It is. Every one of them in the conference is a big deal, to conference teams and to us as well. Starting 1-0, that's the best way to the route of a conference championships to win the first one. So we just got to take them one at a time, and we got our first one Friday night.
And then to Cass on Saturday, obviously that's not the game you're focused on at this point, but what can you tell us about Cass?
They're a team that's long, they're athletic, they're going to look to push the basketball. I think to this point, the year they've had a little bit of trouble shooting the basketball. If they ever get that going, they're a team that's very, very capable and could be very, very dangerous because they play very hard. They're athletic, and they like to get the ball up and down the floor.
Your first back-to-back, any concerns about that?
No.
Fantastic that Coach Hendrickson has faith in his team. Everybody knows that's a tough transition, but he's right. Probably shouldn't be concerned. After going to Madison-Grant on Friday, Elwood goes back on the road Saturday at Bluffton, where Panthers head coach Ryan Van Skyok will face his mentor, Craig Teagle. Of course, Van Skyok said Elwood's focus is on Friday's opponent, Madison-Grant.
Yeah, Madison-Grant, very quick, athletic kids. Anytime you have a Yagi on the floor, those kids are just players, really skilled, really athletic, very good leaders. So it's going to be a rough challenge for us. We got to defend a lot better on the three. To me, I think the key is taking care of the basketball. I feel like if we can take care of the basketball, limit turnovers, it gives us the best chance to probably win the game. But we got to have the scores probably in the low 40s. If it's a track meet and it's a run up and down the court kind of game, we're going to be nowhere even clear to have a chance in the fourth quarter. So we got to do a great job of just handling their athleticism, their quickness, because I feel like they're probably going to trap us or full court presses. So if we can eliminate the turnovers and get quality shots, and if they fall, hopefully we have a chance going in the fourth quarter.
And then Bluffton, what do you know about them? I assume you haven't spent too much time on the Saturday when the team Friday is a conference game.
Yeah, Bluffton I actually know kind of well. So Coach Teagle's the head coach there. He was my coach in high school at Jay
Right.
County, and then I coached 10 years under him at Jay County. So they basically run the same thing we do. So the only difference, they're a switching man-to-man team, which really messes with our kids because they don't understand the switching aspect yet of screening your own guy. So we just got to do a good job. But we're looking towards our conference opponent first. Everybody picks us last to be in the conference, and rightfully so. But our goal is to go in there and upset a couple of these conference opponents. So that's our main goal going into Friday night.
And last question, I guess it's a two-part question. What's been the message to the team this week, and what's your health status?
Yeah, we basically been focusing on offense this week. I'm a defensive-minded coach, but our offense has been so terrible the first couple weeks of the season. So we got back to the basics. We did a lot of basic shooting drills, working on footwork when you step into the shot. Things our kids lack because they never got taught it and never had a feeder program back in the day, and you can see what that brings. Every good program has a great feeder system. Ours has not been great. Our kids lack the skills and fundamentals to be successful, and we're trying to teach those to them in high school, which don't really work out very well. So we've been working on our offense, the shooting part. We are healthy right now, except for Bryce Schuler still out with a broken hand.
How long do you expect that to be?
Well, he goes back Friday, so if he has to have surgery, he's done for the year. If he doesn't have surgery, we're hoping to have him back for Madison County against Liberty Christian. So, and that would be about 2 or 3 more weeks. So we're praying that's the part it is, because once he would come back, then we'd also have Cam Galejos back after Christmas break. So we feel like we can finally have our full team back and kind of see what we did in the summer.
Tipton and Western start Hoosier Conference play on Friday. The 2-0 and 6th ranked Blue Devils then go to the Muncie Fieldhouse for a single game shootout Saturday, and will face reigning regional champion Delta at 4 o'clock on Saturday at Muncie Central in a 5-game shootout. Western is 3-1 and has won 3 straight, and Delta is 2-1. Tough weekend for the Red Devils. Michelle Garmon and I spoke with Tipton head coach Cliff Hawkins ahead of the big weekend.
Big weekend for the Blue Devils, Coach. Start off with a big conference game at Western on Friday night.
We do, and we've been busy preparing for that game. Western is a team that's greatly improved from a year ago. and you can tell that they've worked very hard on their offensive skill level and their ability to shoot the ball effectively. So that they're going to be a very hard team to defend on the road in our first conference game.
And who are some of the players or key matchups for you that you feel like you need to win or control to dictate the outcome of the game?
Yeah, I don't know about the matchups right now. I mean, we have different people doing different things. I think the thing that we have to control the outcome of the game is they're a very good 4 out, 1 in motion dribble drive type of team. Their guards are constantly looking to beat you to the middle. And so one of the key things in any matchup with someone on the perimeter is that we have to contain the middle dribble drives and force to the sidelines. And so that'll be a big thing. And then I think the second thing that's real important is our ability to keep a couple of their bigger players off the boards. They have a number 40 named Shoemaker, and he really works the glass, very, very hard. And they have others as well. But that's one of the key components of our game plan is to make sure we can keep them off the glass.
I was going to say, because that was probably the one area in your game with Frankton last Saturday that maybe just slightly disappointed in was the fact that they out rebounded you.
We were out rebounded 32-22, and that just isn't acceptable. And if you're going to play big, then you have to play big, and you have to control the glass. And we were far too slow on getting after the ball, I thought. We spent an awful lot of time on Monday, probably well over an hour and 15 minutes on the fundamentals of the block out from different areas of the floor, along with rebounding the ball at a high point. We worked really hard on that, and I've seen some great improvement this week. We'll have to see if we can transfer it over to a game that has another 6'7" or 6'5" kid on the floor.
And are you still? Of course, Grady's going to draw a lot of attention all year from everybody. And I thought Peyton Aller did a really good job of kind of stepping in there against Tri-Central along with Sam, and then Sam against Frankton. Are you still looking for some of those younger kids to step up and be ready and to take some of that pressure off of Grady?
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of time because when you play basketball at your own grade level, it's just different. But when you get into varsity basketball and you might have somebody 2 and 3 years older than you, it's just you're a step slow in the recognition sometimes of what you have to see. And again, this week, each as will be, I see great growth and improvement occurring. I mean, it's just unbelievable from even last night's practice to tonight how much we were able to improve with some certain things that I thought last night we didn't see anything, and I thought tonight we saw most everything. And so it's just going to be a team that continues to evolve. But I do think this by the end of the year they're going to be terrific in how they play together, and obviously we're hoping to bring that together sooner than later. But it is a process with this team. This is a different team when you have 5 kids that haven't played varsity basketball combined with 3 seniors. It takes a little bit of time.
And to lose a player like Nolan who had such terrific range that really made defensive or opponents, other defensive players have to come out to him, and with that athleticism of Jackson, money, and just the fact I think that Grady, that Nolan, Grady, and Jackson had played so many games together, and you do miss some of that when
Well,
you lose 2/3 of that.
Yeah, you do miss it. And then, like the younger kids, they've never played with a guard like Grady. And I can't tell you how often in practice they don't have their hands ready, or they mishandle the pass just a little bit because they don't always tell them you catch the ball with your eyes and then your hands, and they'll fumble it. And if they fumble it, then the great pass has been negated because the defense has recovered on the fumble. Where if they would have caught it on the initial pass just right off the bat, they could have laid it in. So we're really working with the players on their hands and demanding a lot out of that, making sure that they're ready because, Grady led the state in assists last year. And um, I mean, just because he has a different team doesn't mean he doesn't intend to do that again. So they have to continually be ready to play with a very good guard. And he's a very good guard.
Yes, he is. Now, this is going to be a good test for your young team too, because you have it's a double weekend, 2 games on the road, and you have less than 24 hours between the ending of one and the tip of the other. Because then you get to go on Saturday, you get to travel over to one of the great places I think to play basketball, the Muncie Field House, and get to take on a very talented Delta team.
Short turnaround.
Yeah, and I think that it is a very short turnaround, and I think what that does is it makes us tougher and it allows us to learn more about our players. Like I say, this is a season long building process that we're igniting and fast forwarding. But whether we're ready to do that, whether we're ready to win a conference game and turn around and go on the road and be hungry enough in Muncie Fieldhouse to beat a team like Delta, I don't know, but I do know the kids are making the effort to prepare. Delta has a couple players that are very steady, very good. Number 4, number 5, and I should have their names, but I don't have them with me. And right now, I'm just focused on Western a little bit more, even though we have, we've scouted Delta and we've got some film. We just know that the difference between the two teams that we have to quickly figure out is Western's going to be a dribble drive, penetrate, try to get to the basket kind of team. And Delta is the kind of team that runs an awful lot of sets to get certain people their shots. And then the guys that don't shoot as much, they're generally left open because everybody's helping on the other two kids. And then they're capable of hitting outside shots.
Western enters Friday's contest with Tipton on a 3-game winning streak, the Panthers' longest since January of 2023, under second-year head coach Cam Bennington. The Panthers have a pair of tough games this weekend after playing Tipton on Friday. They go to Rossville to face the 4-0 Hornets. In his Central Indiana Sports Report debut, Bennington, the reigning Central Indiana Sports Report Coach of the Week, talked about his team's big week ahead with Michelle Garmon and me. Mostly Michelle. Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report for the first time to Western head coach Cam Bennington, the reigning Central Indiana Sports Report Coach of the Week, who has his team off to a really good 3-1 start. Coach, tell us why you've been successful so far.
I mean, anytime in high school sports when you have success, I think the credit first has to go to the kids and the ones that are actually making the plays out there on the court. Everybody has a plan, and there's a lot of coaches out there that have really good plans that don't have success all the time. So, I feel like we've had some good game plans, but at the end of the day, our kids have executed it really well each night we've gone out so far. And it started back in the summer and in the spring when we finished a 5-17 season and said, we're not going to let that happen again. And we're going to have a better year next year. And, I think it's the end of last year has just kind of led up to where we are right now. And the kids are doing some really nice things right now.
Yeah, Coach, I know that this is your second year at Western. Did it help coming to back to Western because they were part of the Hoosier Conference, a conference you were familiar with, having been a high school player at Twin Lakes?
Yeah, I think for sure that maybe played a role in some way, shape, or form of my interest in Western from the start. When I was at Winnemac, I loved it there. Winnemac was a community similar to Tipton being, I have my stepmom being from Tipton, where there's a lot of people there that loved high school sports, and then it was a passionate fan base and community. And I really loved it being there. But then when the Western job came open, and the amount of respect I had for Western as a school and as a whole, and then as a basketball program from all the years competing against Andy Weaver's teams when I was in high school, it definitely, the familiarity with the Hoosier Conference and Western and the respect I had really, really brought me back.
Tell us how you see your matchup Friday against Tipton. It's actually a big Hoosier Conference contest.
Yeah. I mean, big Hoosier Conference implications on Friday, and man, it's going to be a tough one. Tipton's really, really good again, like they are every year. It all starts with Grady Carpenter, obviously, and everybody in the state knows that. But the kids and I have talked multiple times that he's the best player we're probably going to play against all year. The things he can do with the basketball and the way he leads the team and impacts it in so many different ways is really, really challenging to prepare for. They're not a one-man show by any means. They got lots of guys that are capable, and Coach Hawkins has them playing really, really hard, and really, really physical, and he does a really nice job. And it's a game that we think we can be competitive in, and we think we can be competitive in any game we play this year. But if we want to come out with a win on Friday, we're going to have to play our A game.
Who are Who are the key guys for you?
I think we start with our seniors, Hudson Biggs and Sam Thurston, who have both been doing a really nice job ever since we started this off season, who are just kind of glue guys for us, who probably are our two best defenders on the team, and just take a lot of pride in doing things the right way. But then you add in Carter Biggs, who is having a really, really good start to the year and had a really good spring and summer playing AAU, and has grown a couple inches, playing guard for us. And then you add into the mix, we have a freshman point guard in Eli Mast, who has really stepped up to the plate as a freshman, and is kind of running the show and getting us into our stuff. And, he's making the adjustment to high school basketball and to varsity basketball, and doing it against some high level teams, but he's, taking it in stride and taking his lumps, but also performing at a really high rate for a freshman.
Tipton, and I know that's where all your focus is, but you don't have an easy weekend, because then you get to turn around and play a 4-0 Rossville team on Saturday.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We talked about that on Monday, when we looked at our week, and we said we were really proud of the week we just had, and then the weekend that we were able to have. Going on the road and beating Northwestern is not an easy thing to do. And then we come home and turn around with a big win on Saturday night, and then we said, look, if we're not ready to go this weekend, that 2-0 week could be replaced with an 0-2 week, because you have a really, really good Tipton team coming in on Friday night, and then we got to go on the road and play a Rossville team that's currently 4-0, probably going to be 5-0 by the time we play them. That's just going to be exuding confidence on their home floor. It's going to be a big weekend for us. It's kind of a test to see, are we the same team from last year, or how much of a stride have we really made? Can we start stacking these weekends together, and making this a new brand of Western basketball?
Is it a nice caveat, though, knowing Rossville has got a tough matchup with Sheridan, a conference matchup with Sheridan the night before as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it is, and it is, but then again, at the same time, we have a tough matchup the night before too, and so it's a nice thing to say that they're probably not going to start preparing for us until Saturday morning, but at the same time, we're not going to start preparing for them until Saturday morning, because if you take your focus off the Blue Devils before you play them, you're going to be in for a long night.
Quick correction, we were looking at the wrong schedule. Rossville actually plays Frontier on Friday evening. That's in Rossville. 2-1 Lapel has a double weekend against two teams on completely different ends of the spectrum. First, Friday, the Bulldogs host Class 2A number 1 Wapahani, the reigning North semi-state champion. The Raiders are 3-0 and open the season with a pair of wins over Class 4A teams. On Saturday, Lapel goes to the Muncie Fieldhouse to face Burris at 2 p.m. in the second of the 5-game shootout. Burris is 0-3 and has been outscored by 161 points through 3 games. Michelle and I spoke to Lapel head coach Kevin Cherry ahead of the weekend.
First, it's a huge, huge challenge. Wapahani is extremely good, extremely well coached, and And I've said this before, and I stand by this. I think Wapahani in Class 2A and East Central Indiana is the class of the field. It's a program I try to emulate in terms of the toughness in which they play. Kids buy into roles, and they just do what it takes to win, and that's what we want to become. And we're looking forward to the battle, looking forward to the challenge, and hopefully we'll be ready.
Well, the one thing I think Wapahani, I think the challenge they present is, you know, you're like you said, they're a physical team. They really are content at move. I mean, offensively, they move the ball very well, I think.
You're exactly right, Michelle. And then oftentimes watching film or watching them live, you'll hear Coach Luce, he's saying, pass the ball, move the ball. And they certainly do. They move the ball very well. They run some actions, kind of continuity things, and get you lulled in, or they find which mismatch they want to exploit. Then he'll call a set. At the end of a quarter, they execute extremely well. There's some things they like to do to drive away from ball screens. They come off a ball screen 3 or 4 times, and then that next time, boom, if you're not alert, they'll drive away from it and beat you. They've got guys that can shoot it at all 5 spots on the floor, so they're really a difficult guard. And it presents a huge challenge for not just us, but each team they play on their schedule. Muncie Central didn't score until the second quarter against these guys. Pendleton Heights was down 18 at one time. I think it was 16, 18 at one time, and then made a run to come back at them. And then once they get you down, they're almost impossible to turn over. They just take a great care of the basketball, and they all are just really good basketball players. It's a joy to scout, and it's a joy to watch, as an opposing coach, because like I said, it's a great brand of basketball.
I think their teams kind of remind me of the way Coach Lou Lefebvre's teams play, in that they like to, they'll grind you down. They'll make you work so hard defensively, that a lot of times then they'll bait you into taking the first open shot, not
Yes.
necessarily the first good shot or great shot, but because
Yes.
had to play defense and you're tired of playing defense, you want to go down and you want to speed the game up. The kids do. So then
Yes.
they speed you up a little bit without you really wanting them to.
You nailed it, Michelle. Last year in the sectional, we come out and we guard our first couple possessions, and our fans start cheering like we're doing a great job, and we are doing a great job. But then what they're really good at too is you guard them for a minute or so, they shoot it, and they do happen to miss it. They rebound the ball as well as anybody, and they get second or third chances. But then just conversely, on the other end, they really limit other teams' second chances because they rebound the basketball so well. So you're right. If you go into a 2 or 3, 4 minute stretch where you absolutely fall asleep and kind of get away from the game plan or become careless, they make you pay. And then like I said, once it becomes a 10, 12 point game, you're really in trouble because it's difficult to turn them over. And I hope from our Pendleton game now to this weekend, it's something that we've talked about this week, time and situation, and then we can take a step forward this weekend and be better at it, because I thought Pendleton in the third quarter, we're in a position to win that basketball game, and we get quick, we take bad shots again while we're up, and Pendleton made us pay. They capitalized and made shots, credit to them, and they went on that 15-0 run to take the lead, and we could never get back in front. So that's one thing this week, and I hope that we can take a step forward, is realizing time and situation, what's a great shot and what's just a good shot, and we're playing for great shots every time against Wapahani.
And then you turn around and play Saturday afternoon. I know you're not thinking about that one at all, but just getting to play in the Muncie Fieldhouse is always a cool experience.
Yeah, and they've done a great job of updating that facility over there. Last year we played in the same event, sponsored by Pizza King. So our guys always get Pizza King pizza after
Awesome.
this, and they enjoy that. But yeah, we love going over to the Muncie Fieldhouse. Muncie Burris, you're right. I'll just be honest, I haven't spent 1 second preparing, just because we take care of Friday first. And then typically I'll start watching Muncie Burris tomorrow, Friday night, or, watch them Thursday and Friday. And then we'll put our game plan in Saturday morning to go play them. But right now, all focus is on Friday with Wapahani.
And 1-1 Tri-Central goes on the road for 2 games this week. On Friday, they travel to Greentown to face 1-1 Eastern. Then the Trojans go to Alexandria on Saturday to face the 0-3 Tigers. On Wednesday, Michelle and I talked with Tri-Central head coach Cam Heineman about his team's weekend.
Okay.
This is Michelle Garmon. I'm here with Tri-Central boys head basketball coach Cam Heideman, and the Trojans have a big weekend this weekend. You get to open Central Indiana or Hoosier, excuse me. You get to open Hoosier Heartland Conference play against at Eastern. So that's a big game Friday night. And then you follow it up with a trip to Alexandria on Saturday.
Yeah, well, you weren't totally wrong when you started saying the CIC. At least I think that's what you're getting ready to say. Because yeah, we have a conference game with Eastern, and then we do go see a CIC uh, team with Alexandria. But yeah, this is always a good game. With Eastern, we've historically played each other fairly close. I don't know what the overall record is. Uh, for the series, but it's usually a really good game with Eastern. It went to overtime last year, and uh, we did really well in the overtime period a year ago. But otherwise, it was a very nip and tuck close game, and I don't look for this one to be much different.
Of course, the game kind of showcases a couple guards. Drake Ramsier for you guys, and Colton Lindsay for the Comets.
It does, and Lindsey's one of those kids that he'll shoot 30, 35 shots a game, and you gotta hope that he's a little bit cold, because if he gets hot shooting that many shots, he has the ability to single-handedly take the game over, and he'll shoot it from anywhere on the floor. So we've got to guard him everywhere, and everybody else has to do their job and shut the paint down for the rest of the team.
Eastern, then, I mean, it's a team that I think it struggled a little bit too, but then they got a big win against Alexandria last weekend.
They did, and if you watch that game film, I'm not sure how it ended up happening, but uh, I thought Ellick played really well, especially in the first half against Eastern. They played really good defense, and really bothered Eastern coming down the floor. Um, so that's one of the things that we're looking at doing, and throwing a little bit of full court pressure on them, and hope we can do the same. But Eastern, Zach, they're always very disciplined. Coach Lindsay does a very nice job with his boys. They always play hard. Again, they're always very disciplined, and they were in that game as well. They just stayed the course, and uh, kept with the game plan, and it ended up paying off at the end. And that's what you've got to do if you're going to win games down the road. And we've got to know that that's how they're going to play. And I mean, we got to stick with our game plan, and ours is to try to put it away as early as possible, and keep it in that state, and kind of learn from our Cowan game last Friday.
Of course, rebounding will be a big key for you, and staying out of foul trouble so you rebound well, and that being Jay Jankoviak and Aaron Hoback. And then you get Logan Yance back, though, this weekend. That should help along the depth along the front line.
Yeah. Logan is back this week, and he will definitely help with depth. But he also helps with a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. But you're absolutely right. We've got to be in position to rebound. If we don't, that's going to be a big part of the game. Now, 2 years ago, when we were over playing Eastern, that was the difference in the game, was their ability to rebound. We got shots and scored well, but um, again, Lindsay's teams are always very disciplined, and they're in position to rebound, and we've got to understand that. And again, staying out of foul trouble is going to be very important for us, and be in position to win that rebound battle. And I think you're dead on, Michelle, when you say that's going to be an important part of the game. I think that will be the one of the huge differences, if not the difference, in that game on Friday,
And it won't
is who
just be
wins the rebound battle.
and it just won't be your big guys either, right? I mean, because when you put up a team that likes to shoot from the perimeter a lot, and I know Lindsay does, and some of those other kids, your guards also have to be willing to box out and get position, because a lot of times you can get long rebound. I mean, the rebound goes long.
It does, and Lindsay shoots, from a long way out. The Hannah kid shoots long distance shots. So I almost think our guards are going to have to be more in position than our bigs, because I think most of those shots are going to come off with long rebounds, and we've got to chase those things down and secure them, and then take off to the other end. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Now, did it help because Ellick and Eastern played each other last weekend? So you get to, I mean, when you're watching that film, you actually get to see both of the teams that you play this weekend. And I know you concentrate on Eastern, which you should because it's the conference, but um, with Ellick the next night, I'm sure you took a little notes or at least knew where you wanted to go back into the film and double check something.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't go to that game. We had a little Christmas celebration that we did as a team at the school, so that ran fairly late, so we didn't get over to watch that game. But I did get the game film, and yeah, it's a great advantage to be able to watch both those teams play each other. And then you can compare that, of course, to some other games, but. Um, I think that was a really good example for both games of how we need to play, um, because I think there's some similarities between Alexandria and us, and I think there's a few similarities between Eastern and us. So it was good to get to watch both of them. And interestingly, the next weekend we've got Clinton Central and Madison Grant, and those two played each other on that night also, that same Friday night. And oh, I'm sorry, that was Saturday night. So we'll kind of get the same thing next weekend as well. We'll get to watch both teams play each other.
Yeah, of course. Now Saturday night, you're going to be Alexandria's first home game of the season, so I would imagine that would be probably a pretty good and pretty excited crowd. So, kind of be important for your kids to come in and not let the crowd get too involved into it.
I think you're right. Not only is it their first home game, I think they've either gotten a new gym floor or they've done some
Yeah, they got a new
renovation
gym
in the
floor.
gym somehow. Yeah, so I think that's going to be an exciting game for their community and their fans, and it'll be really good for us to go into that environment. And also, I hope they bring a good crowd because that'll be good for us to go in and learn how to manage that kind of noise and block it out and do our jobs and what we're supposed to do. So I think that'll be both a fun game, and I think it'll be important for us to learn from.
All right, one final question here, and I'll let you go. Has that bug or virus or whatever that ran through your team last week, has it gone? Has it left you guys?
It has not left us. I had two kids out today. I had three out yesterday. Earlier in the week, I sent Jankoviak home. He was still sick. Now he's gotten a lot better this week as the week has gone on. But right now, it's hitting the JV more than it's hitting the varsity. But we really need to get through next week and get Christmas break here so we can get everybody out of school and away from each other and get everybody healthy. But we're not in terrible shape, but it is. There's a lot of kids coughing and sniffling and uh, making those sounds you don't want to hear in the huddle at the end of practice today. So we told them to drink their water and drink their orange juice and vitamin C and rest and all that good stuff. So we'll see how it rolls. But now it's definitely still at Tri-Central, that sickness is.
And we will have more on Frankton Eastbrook with Frankton head coach Brent Brobston on Friday's Central Indiana Sports Reports preview show. And we will have more on the Blackford Alexandria game, and we hope to hear from those coaches as well. We will also have more on big HHC conference game, Clinton Central and Sheridan, plus Taylor and Northwestern, and a big Hancock County game on Friday's scoreboard show. We'll also have our big North Central Conference, Hoosier Heritage Conference, Mid-Eastern games, Pioneer Conference. All of those games we will preview on Friday's Central Indiana Sports Report. In fact, we'll preview all 19 games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. And on Friday night, we will not only go over all the scores and highlights with our live scoreboard show with Michelle Garmon, we will also preview all 18 Saturday games on that scoreboard as well. Every game, every preview, we got you covered. Thank you so much to Josh Brooks, Kevin Renbarger, Ryan Van Skyok, and Josh Hendrickson, Cliff Hawkins, Cam Bennington, Kevin Cherry, and Cam Hindman for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you so much to Michelle for taking over the interviews while I was not feeling well on Wednesday evening. She is truly the best. And thank you most of all to you for listening. Once again, we are much obliged. Please go right now and subscribe, follow, or like us at SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Amazon Music, or at YouTube so you don't miss a single segment. And tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is brought by DG Media. And I love Susie.